Welcome everybody to today's showing agent model webinar hosted by me, Austin Keitner, and my lovely team, members of the Keitner group, Danielle, Alex, Tammy, Brian, Ryan. All of these people in one way or another either participate as showing agents or work with showing agents or do a combination of the two. So we're going to dig deep into this model and we're going to bounce some ideas and some thoughts off of each other for your viewing and listening pleasure. So, who the fuck is a showing agent good for? Guys, who would you say it's good for?
A listing agent.
Seems like it's good for pretty much everyone involved.
Yeah, busy agent.
You read the answer. It's right there. Oops. Yeah, specifically, I think I heard you guys.
Also, Austin, I'll before we go too off in the deep end, we do have one external non-Keitner group member. Welcome, Jim, to the presentation.
Jim, welcome to the presentation, my friend.
Oh, and Nina's here too.
And Nina, hello, Nina. Jimmy Blam, I'm gonna let everybody talk. Okay. Showing agent model is good for everyone. We are focusing on the three people that it's mostly good for, besides for the marketplace and the efficiency and all that stuff. But on a micro level, it is great for the agent because we get really busy. Once we are in the business long enough, we've been doing our lead generation for enough years. We've got a really big database. Things are slipping through the cracks because there's not enough time in the day to service all of our leads and to service all of our clients at the level that we would like. It's great for the showing agent because they get learning opportunities at the same. I'm going to mute you, Nina. I can hear your stuff going on. They get to learn and earn all at the same time. They get some momentum. We're going to talk about how the showing agent can build their business while they're also assisting with pre-existing customers and getting the benefit of learning from the more experienced agent. And it's great for the client. They get two motivated, skilled, trained agent, and we'll talk about how the training works, especially to get a newer agent into getting enough knowledge early enough on. So from your guys' perspective, Alex, Danielle, what benefits does the showing agent get when they're, like when you guys started right off as showing agents?
Yeah, I started like pretty much right away as a showing assistant in my real estate career. And when I got into real estate, I was just so excited to go see homes and just to show homes and work with clients. I wasn't excited about building my database and, lead generating and stuff. I just wanted to get out there and actually get into these homes. And this was a great way to help me get out there while also assisting me doing the things like building your database that needed to be done, but also helped me to transact with clients right away. I think my first transaction was within my first 2-3 weeks of actually being on the team as a showing assistant.
Yeah, and I always forget, was it 27 or 29 transactions in that first year?
29.
29. Oh, I knew it was, I should always remember.
Because I wanted to do 30 and I didn't.
But you netted over 100K and you hit your goal. And Alex, I know it took you a little bit longer to get your speed up and your momentum, but now that you're in your first full year, you're exceeding your goal. So what was your experience like? I know you were in the business 6 months before, not assisting with showings, but what was that looking like?
Yeah, I mean, I joined the business and I was trying to, just essentially tread water, figuring out how to do it all with the little bits of training that are available out there and whatnot. And I just sort of realized that, there's a lot from a team that I could gain, connected with you guys and join the team. And even at the beginning, joining the team, I came on primarily just as, my own buyer's agent and everything like that. But I was still struggling a little bit because my sphere, I come from an arts background, and a large portion of my sphere just can't buy real estate. Not right now anyways. And while I love to help them with what they can, it sort of left me lacking of like where to go. And so having the ability to work with those, the clients that you guys are already working with, Austin and Joel and everyone, it just gave me a big confidence boost that I was missing, because it sort of felt for that first 6 months or so like I couldn't really make things click. And it's tough to work through that. So I think the combination of the experience that I was getting by going and helping your clients, and also just the confidence that you can build by succeeding in the business is just such a valuable thing to have.
Yeah, well said, guys. And Danielle, now that you've been at it for a few years, right off the bat, you worked your sphere too, and we'll talk about that shortly. But you're transitioning more into having showing agents support you in your business. So what benefits are you receiving now as the primary agent on working with buyers?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started the industry, I just wanted to go on showings all the time. I was so excited. That's actually what got me joined on the team. I was like, I just want to work with buyers. I just want to go on showings. Now that I get more into it, I'm getting busier. I have more clients. I have clients that I'm still assisting with, but also have my own clients that I'm working on because I now have a larger database. So it's getting to be a lot, and showings aren't as exciting to me as they used to be anymore. So it is kind of nice to be able to, leverage that out with my own showing assistant on some of them and give them the same opportunities that I was given.
Yeah, and you actually have started a family with your first fur baby.
I do, yes.
That just limits the amount of time that you actually have. So you're still able to service.
Yeah, I can't leave all the time because I've got this guy now. So.
Aw, and he's worth every second of that free time. Yeah.
I just woke him up. So.
Well, thank you for doing that for our benefit. All right. You know what? Next time we do this, we should get a client video testimonial on here to talk about what they benefit. But if you are curious, you can check out the Keitner Group Google reviews, and you can see what people are saying from their perspective as well. So who the heck does what in this relationship? The number one question that I get, actually this is the number two. The next slide is the number one, is that's how the splits work. But the division of labor is even more important. So it's still our job as the primary agent to follow up with our leads. Our skill set, the one of the highest paying dollar productive activities we can do is actually converting leads. It's one of the last things that we actually want to give up. So we are still following up with the lead. We're booking the appointment. Again, that's the skill set that we've developed. We still want to book the appointments. We still want to host the consults. That gives the showing agent a lot of shadowing opportunities. It gives them opportunities to speak to certain things, gives them opportunities to see how we do it. It's more organic that way. Like as a team, we practice our buyer consults, and the application of it is very different. We're rarely going through the buyer consult the way we would in a scripting practice. So Danielle and Alex, and anybody else that wants to jump in, what do you feel in terms of the difference between like actually shadowing those and not being the one responsible to convert the appointment necessarily, but being able to participate, and what, if anything, have you learned from that angle?
Well, I mean, again, it's one of those situations where you get to learn on the job, but the stakes are lowered for you, because that's one of the other big reasons I feel like a lot of new realtors sort of shoot themselves in the foot is they get those first couple of appointments, they get that, those first big appointments, and the stakes are high. You nail the appointment or you don't pay rent next month. And so it's super valuable to be able to be a part of that process without having the weight of it be resting on you, so you can actually take it in and get a couple under your belt, so that whenever you do have to do it yourself, you feel like you've been there before, you have some comfort.
Yeah, I guess it allows you to spend more time practicing the listening part, because you're not feeling the pressure of saying the right thing at the right time. That's a great point. I hadn't actually thought of that. It's also still our responsibility to course correct. We need to be there if they're not getting what they want. If your showing agent is taking double-digit showings, sometimes much worse. We have to course correct along the way. We have to be part of that conversation. Why don't we jump on Zoom again? Why don't we get together again and take a look at what you're seeing and what's actually been selling for the price point that you're looking in, so that we can reorientate what features and location we're looking at. And then we want to be involved in the negotiation still. We want to, ideally, our creativity, the experience that we have in the negotiations can help our buyers win. And we want to remain very much part of the process. We cannot think of this role in this division of labor as passing somebody off. If that's our mindset, we will not want to even do it. And that's actually the splits is the number one question I get, but the number one objection I have to working with showing agents is that it feels like they're passing them off. And that's just because you're not doing it correctly.
So it's not a referral, it's a partnership.
It's a partnership. We're in a group conversation, like an actual like group chat, however many decision makers on their end, plus the two of us. Sometimes we'll include our executive assistant, Carolina, who's on the call, who set this all up. Everyone say hi to Carolina. Thank you for setting this all up and marketing and everything. We want to, we're a team. We want to give them more value. So one of the things that we said, who is it good for? It's good for the client because they're getting way more support. They're getting 2 eyes instead of 1. If I'm ever not available for a showing, we've got somebody else. If they're not available, I will back them up. I'm not above showings. I still like going to see real estate. It's not about that whatsoever. It's about being able to accomplish more. If I can spend my time setting up more opportunities, because still my job is to follow up the leads and book the consults and attend those consults, and I can set these guys up with opportunities that they can run with and help take care of all the chaos that's created from working with a lot of people, then everybody wins. So the showing agent is going to help follow up with the client customer. They're still monitoring the market. When something comes up, I'm relying on them. The primary agent's going to rely on them to see it and maybe mention them or poke them. If they're seeing that the client's looking at stuff, they know that it's their job to comment on that or ask what they think of it, or if it's something that they'd want to go see. They're going to tend to buy consult whenever possible. It's okay to divide that up. They don't have to be there, but it's to their benefit for training. Plus, they get the firsthand words from the client themselves and can ask any questions that they might have. Monitoring the listings for the buyer, showing the ones that the client likes. We usually set that up in the consult. If we see something that they like, we let them know that means that we assume that they'll want to go see it, and they'll help prepare the paperwork and get it to the right people at the right time. Anything I should add to that, guys? Does that sound pretty much?
No, that seems pretty all encapsulating there. And the one thing I will definitely say is that for anyone who wants to have a showing agent, like screen cap this page so that you can discuss it with them at the beginning. Because I do know, at the very beginning of the relationship with you, Austin, like there were certain times where I was like, I'm not entirely sure what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And it's not a bad thing. It's just everything works. The whole idea of this is to save everyone time. So if you have this list right from the beginning so that everyone knows where and when they're supposed to be doing what, it's just, really doubling down on that efficiency that the whole thing is supposed to provide.
Yeah, well said. And yeah, that's actually one of the reasons I put this course together, so that it would force me to write this shit out and think about it and talk to you guys about it too. Great point. Good ad. And yeah, so for anybody watching this, they're going to want to consider that. Yeah, they'll definitely want to screenshot that. Cool. So getting on to the financial part of this, like I said, the number one question, how do the splits work? First of all, before we even look at the showing agent model, we all need to split our income 50-50 between us personally and our business. The deals that I do on my team, I split the same as the agents split with the business on the team as well. The agents on the team actually, in fact, have the opportunity to benefit from the profit portion of this. It looks like a really small part, but it can actually be pretty big too if we manage all these properly. But the agents on the team actually should have that opportunity. That's for another class altogether, but you need to set aside money for the stuff that you inevitably will have to spend money on in your business. So I wrote down a list of some of the reasons why you might want to start doing, even if you're not ready for a showing agent, even if you're newer in the business, you're just starting to have income come in, or you've been in the business for a long time, you're already making hundreds of thousands of dollars in GCI, you'll need to separate the money, because if it's all going into one account and you haven't separated your business expenses from your personal expenses, it makes it way harder to track. You have to go through and fine tooth comb each bank statement to figure out which is a business expense and which is not. So it takes a lot more time and has a much higher probability of not even getting done properly. Sometimes it makes you think that you're making more money than you actually are. You also have to decide between business expenses and personal expenses. You might want to buy something personally, and now you're sacrificing an investment in the business, or an opportunity that the business could take advantage of, or a hire that the business could make to make it better, to give more opportunities to other people, to give your clients a better experience, technology that you could invest in. But you have to make these personal purchase decisions that are getting in the way of that. It actually makes it impossible. This is number 4, by the way, if you're writing this list down. It actually makes it impossible to replace yourself from doing transactions, if that's one of your goals. If you want to eventually replace yourself from doing the sales part of these transactions, it makes it impossible because there's no trackable profit to replace your income with. The only way to remove yourself from a sale entirely is to have a profitable business. And we actually want to use that profit. You actually want to keep doing sales for as long as you can, because you want to be able to use 100% of that profit to support the business by buying assets, real estate assets, business assets. A lot of them you don't actually pay any income tax or corporate tax on if you use the retained earnings from your business. So for that reason alone, you can invest and grow wealth a lot faster, and it's in the business, which helps you support the business, which is why the Canadian government, and probably in the States, there's similar setups as well, if you're watching from there, allows you to do those things because they want businesses to buy assets in Canada. So if we do that, we can buy a lot more of them, retire sooner, have way more support for our business, be able to invest in bigger and better things, be able to pivot when everybody else is running away. You can actually invest more money in marketing when everybody else is cutting back because the market's turned and things like that. So it actually allows you to grow. We've taken a lot of market share during down markets because we've got a strong financial base. So if those reasons aren't enough, then you might not do it. But if you do decide to do it, you're still going to pay yourself 50% on all the deals you do. And then you can use it for all the personal stuff you want. You increase your living standards if you want. Still a good idea to retain as much of that money as possible. You're also going to want to be okay with sharing some of that with the showing agent. They're going to be working their ass off. They're going to be doing a lot of hard work. They're going to be giving you a lot of your time back, which you can use to make more money. That's called leverage. Or you can use it for spending time on the things you enjoy doing, which is referred to as luxury. Or you can do a combination of both, ideally, like what Danielle's doing so that she can spend more time with her puppy Webby. And Danielle also happens to be making more money than she's ever made in her life. She's already on track. She doesn't do another deal this year. She'll net almost $200,000 so far. And I'm sure she'll get over that by the end of the year. Any questions or comments? Did I cover the bases on this one, guys? Anybody can talk.
Solid.
And it helps, like, so I mean, you guys, Danielle and Alex, since you guys are the ones talking with me today, you guys don't have any experience receiving 100% commission ever. But do you find, because you don't have to spend any money on business expenses other than like to maintain your license and stuff, like how does that affect your personal financial situation as much as you're willing to share?
Yeah, I mean, it helps me. It helps me feel like I know a little more securely what's happening, because I mean, obviously we still have to get out there and find the clients and do everything like that and so on and so forth. But it makes it feel more predictable to me because I know that all of this is taken care of and it's this flat amount of money. You know what I mean? As opposed to, oh shoot, I just wrote another check for this and this and this and this, and just makes it seem more manageable.
Yeah, it's actually the fixed expenses that agents tend to let get carried away. And then they don't account for those when they're making variable expense decisions. So they'll spend that extra money on the video for the listing, or they'll buy those flyers and dump them in a neighborhood one time and not actually create a system around it and stuff like that. Danielle, I know you've always been good with your finances. You've even, if you guys want to read a great book on this and the psychology of actually creating separate accounts in your bank account for the different areas that you want to spend money in your business and personally, Profit First is a great book. But Danielle, can you tell us a little bit about how you've set up some of your buckets of wealth?
Yeah, I mean, before I even learned what buckets of wealth were, I already had like multiple bank accounts that I was constantly putting, every time I got a commission check, I would just kind of divide it amongst those accounts. So I've got an account where all my HST goes. So every time I get a commission check, that I look at my trade sheet, and whatever the HST is on there, I put it in that separate account because I know that that's not my money. I know that I'm going to have to give that back come tax time. So I don't even look at it. It just goes in there. I put a chunk into savings. I put some into a TFSA. I keep some in a checking account, but I like to keep it all kind of separated for different things. I have an account for taxes. That obviously we're in real estate, we have to pay taxes. I pay installments throughout the year, so that's helpful as well. But yeah, it's stuff like paying for new signs and new marketing, or paying for leads, or paying for a database and stuff that I don't ever have to worry about. Come tax time, my accountant's all like, okay, what are your expenses? And I'm like, I don't really have any. Like, I don't really have tons of business expenses because my team takes care of most of it. So
yeah,
that's always.
Yeah, you're always trying to find things you can write off, but yeah, that's those ongoing fixed and then variable.
Yeah, I mean, besides paying for sometimes splitting the cost of staging is really the only upfront business expense I have, aside from keeping my license and insurance and all that.
Yeah, because for staging, that's one of those things that we would share the cost on, just because we want agents to have that autonomy to be able to negotiate that. It's similar to negotiating for less commission. Like if you get full commission and have to stage it, and that's how you win the listing, that's up to the agent to negotiate. So yeah, so this, for some people who watch this, assuming anybody else watches this, this might be, hopefully it's the most valuable page for some people on the call. But we want to find the right people, because doing this form of leverage does not work if you don't have the right person. So we need to make sure that we're finding talent. Do you guys remember how we got partnered up?
With
Danielle, Alex.
me? Like how I got partnered up with you guys?
Yeah.
I do. I was drunk at the Christmas party and talking to Joel. And just I was like, I don't want to work with sellers. I just want to work with buyers. Like, I don't want to, I don't want to take listings. I just want to work with buyers. Joel was like, well, you can have all my buyers. I don't want to work with buyers. And I was like, perfect. Thinking there's no way this guy's going to give me all of his buyers. And then a couple of days later, I got a Facebook message saying to reach out to Austin if I wanted to work with buyers. And that was it.
Yeah, we didn't exactly high five at the bar and then get in business together, but we went through a bit of an interview process. But yeah, the source was we were at the same market center. We met at a party. So sphere of influence, we might call that. Alex.
Yeah. I mean, I came in, I guess you could say through sphere of influence as well, because I came in because Ryan and I had met at the office, going in, doing morning calls and everything like that. And then Ryan joined the team. And then he mentioned me to you, and then you did the thing that you do, which is follow up incessantly for a couple months.
Indeedy Weedies. Tammy's here on the call. She has a similar story. I followed up with her quite a bit.
Yes, you did. Yeah, I went to a class that you taught, and then you kept calling incessantly.
Yeah. Not in a creepy way, obviously. Otherwise, they wouldn't.
No. I mean,
No,
obviously
no.
in a good way, because here we are.
Yeah, I certainly wasn't looking to join a team at the time by any means. And then it was just made a bit of sense.
Yeah. And some of that was from prospecting efforts. So like I would consider like outbound calls to these guys. Somewhat prospecting, but prospecting would be anything that's outbound and we are initiating the contact. We also want to do marketing stuff. We've hired people from our marketing efforts, and Brooke's an example on our team, and we attract people from Indeed ads and things on social media and things like that. And then our sphere of influence, that's probably the best one. That's where the majority of people, Brian's on this call as well. And we met through our team leader at our office. She was able to introduce us, and Ryan on the call. We've known each other at the brokerage for many years before we got into business together. And obviously a bunch of the other people on the team. But these are the main sources that we want to target for recruiting. And if we're really looking for the person, if we're really in need, we need to dedicate time to it. We need to block time each day. And it's a new activity for a lot of agents who are first starting to do this. And it's uncomfortable at first, but it requires time and effort to get the right person. We've early on in my career, I hired a lot of agents. Ben Kinney calls them the cream of the crap. Anyone who had a license and a pulse was a candidate for the team, and we would trudge along, and it would be months of a painful partnership, and eventually it would always end. And it was just because our values weren't in alignment. Working hard and looking for extraordinary results and teamwork and collaboration. Those weren't always shared values. So that's an important part of the hiring process. But the hiring process is actually like potentially a 3-day or more course that you should take many times, and beyond the scope of what we're talking about today. But this is a preliminary of some of the areas that you can check out. But once you get that right person, skipping ahead to that whole process, once you get the right person, you also want to give them an opportunity to build their own database, to build their own business within your business, if that's what they want. So some of the milestones that Place teams use, we are a member of Place. We built a business that got to about 1.1 million in gross commission. There's about 60 or 70 units sold in a year from that. And it was a tough run. It was a tough run building the business and having the right systems and having agents produce quickly and to be able to build their own businesses within our own business without having great onboarding systems. So the better we get at implementing these onboarding systems and the more agents lean into them, the better results they get. And place teams across America and us here in Canada have agents that are doing deals in their first 30, 60 days and oftentimes outperforming the average agent who's been in the business for 10 or 12 years. So the reason for that is the degree to which they tap into this stuff. So having 200 sphere, doing 100, having their 200 sphere gives them an opportunity to reach out to people who already know them and trust them. They get to tell them that they just got a new career, or they get to invite them to the next event, or they get to ask them for money like we are all doing this month. Hopefully we are all doing that still this month. We've raised $3,000 so far. We've got a goal of 10,000. So if anybody who's listening to this, if you're listening to it before the end of August, it's not too late to donate. You can check us out. We'll send you a link for it as well to donate. We're trying to get to 10K and we're going to match it. But we want to give the agents an opportunity to reach out to their sphere for reasons other than, hey, do you want to buy or sell some real estate? We just want to be top of mind. So we want to train agents on how to do that properly. We can do that systematically by giving them the scripts, by giving them the links to the things that they can participate in, by giving them training on how to set up their statuses in their database so that they can prioritize their calls, teaching them and inspecting what we expect with regards to setting up their market reports so that their sphere can be seeing what's selling and for how much, and then that agent can monitor who's actually looking at that and who gives a shit about it, and then being able to have conversations about the sales in that area because you're looking at the same reports when you give them a call, setting up listing alerts if they are looking for something in an area, and categorizing them because you might want to invite them to an event, or you might want to invite them to a gathering, or you might want to offer them something special that we don't want to offer to just anybody. So you want to categorize them and teach your agents, your new hires, your showing agent, how to categorize their database so that they're communicating with the right people for the right stuff. Does that just about cover it? Anybody on the call who's tapped into the sphere and gear? Anything I missed or?
Oh, that about covers it.
Yeah, it's a great way. It does a lot of things for us. And if we're doing it at the same time as we're doing our 100 previews, it is one of the number one reasons why new agents are able to get into production so quickly. It's because they're actually going and seeing the market, which gives them a ton of confidence. Can you guys speak? Because you guys have done the 100 previews more recently, and Danielle, you probably see 100 properties some months. Alex, you too.
Yeah.
What does the 100 previews do for you, especially earlier on in your career?
Well, if you have like a specific neighborhood that you're going to target, it really helps you get to know the neighborhood. It gives you that knowledge of just, when I was previewing, I would keep properties in a listing cart, and that way I could keep track of what they ended up selling for. And that way I know, hey, when I'm on a showing and someone says, hey, that house over on 42nd Street, what did that end up selling for? I already know because I've already seen it. So I can say, oh, it sold for $1 million, and that was a little lower than I thought because what you didn't see in pictures, what it had this. So it gives you some credibility in the neighborhood with the clients that you're actually working with. And especially in the age where we're doing, holding offer strategy and multiple offers, it gives you an idea of what things are selling for in the neighborhood too. So I know off the back of my hand what a bungalow in South Etobicoke is going to sell for without even actually going to see it or looking at comps, because I've already seen all the comps. I've already seen all the properties. I already know what they all sold for.
Yeah, it makes being able to outperform an agent who's been in the business for 10 or 12 years extremely possible, because you actually know the market better than somebody who's been in the business 10 or 12 years. The person who's been in the business 10 or 12 years, the average agent, I should say, who's been in the business 10 or 12 years, nobody on this call is average, but the average agent who's been in the business 10 or 12 years is mostly just working with repeat and referral. And they're mostly just seeing properties when they absolutely have to. And they're not as in tune with the market. It doesn't matter what the market was doing 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or even last year in some cases. New agents with this program, with this model, know the market better than a lot of agents who have got way more experience than they do. So yeah, I mean, we also want to teach the new agent what key aspects of the listing to look for, so they're not just showing up and pointing out the kitchen and pointing out the bathrooms. We want them to point out key aspects of the listing, what year it was built, what are some of the examples, what are some of the things you talk about, guys, when you're actually showing the property?
It really depends on the particular client, whether they're experienced home buyers, new home buyers, what their experience, their level of understanding of construction is, definitely age, quality, And then it's a mixture depending on who you have. You know, I just worked with one client who was a plumber, and so he knew more about the underworkings of the house than I ever was going to. And so, you know, I just showed him the right direction. But other than that, we discussed things like, you know, lot size, things like that, looking at, you know, odd lot shapes, and really making sure that I was doing things like going on Geo Warehouse for properties that they were looking at, and really checking into some of those details that he wouldn't be familiar with.
Great point. Yeah, and it's okay on showings, and this is what we need to train our agents, or especially our new agents or showing agents, that it's okay to ask questions too of the client. Like, what do they like about it? What do they not like about it? And what would they rate this out of 10? So we want to give them like snippets, like the age of the house or things that we know are important to them. But we're, other than that, mostly asking questions. And we want to be able to provide feedback to the listing agent. So especially as a new agent and that you're onboarding, you want them to start building relationships with their fellow agents, because they might be submitting offers on your behalf. They might be submitting offers on their own behalf or on their client's behalf. And if they're giving feedback to agents and they're creating goodwill, then we don't know when that can help them in their career. But certainly the habit of doing it all the time is inevitably going to help them win some offers and establish rapport, and maybe find out about off-market opportunities from that agent and things like that. But most importantly, and where it can directly result in a sale, is that you are spending your first 30 days, or they're spending their first 30 days talking to their sphere about their real estate plans, or when it comes up, they're talking about what their real estate plans and where they would move if they did move and all that stuff. And all of a sudden they start eliciting information about their friends and family and people that they've worked with in the past or played sports with in the past who are looking to buy something. And now all of a sudden they're like, well, actually, I'm going to go see properties in that area tomorrow. Let me know if you want to join me, or I can let you know how they look. And by the way, I'll send them to you in the meantime, and make sure you keep posted on everything that comes up in the meantime. And they might be like, yeah, I'd love to come check it out. Now all of a sudden your previews are turning into showings and you're doing deals all of a sudden. So as part of their training, so that they know what they're doing, if they learn one script and master the shit out of it, it's going to be LP Mama. Can you guys think of an example of a time where you might not use LP Mama, or would it apply to most of the lead sources you guys work with?
Yeah, I feel like in some way, shape, or form, anytime I'm talking to a new person who has interest in real estate.
What is LP Mama for anybody who's watching and isn't familiar with the acronym?
Location, price, mortgage, motivation, agent, mortgage, appointment.
Yeah, so it's the logical sequence of questions that we would ask our sphere, that we would ask somebody at an open house, that we would ask an internet lead, that we would ask you for door knocking for seller leads or responding to seller lead lads. Well, if you did move, where would you go? We're talking about location. But yeah, we are thinking of moving. Most agents don't know what to say when that happens. Your new agent won't know what to say that happens unless they're trained on LP Mama and master it. So this is really the number one thing. And then you want to know that they're able to use that and see how they convert some of the leads that you give them. So you want to give them opportunities to work some of the leads that you have in your database so that they can practice that. Once they're buyer certified, you'll start buying them leads. They'll have to shadow a certain number of appointments, because that'll give them some confidence and some understanding of what they're actually proposing to the lead that they're talking to, what the value is for the lead. People will want to meet with you. They'll want to meet with them. And anybody who's hiring a showing agent already knows this, but they're going to want to meet with you because it's good for them, not because it's good for you. So we want to train our agents on how to make it so that the person wants to meet with you, because they're going to get value out of that. Because remember, we're not just looking for a showing agent, although that is just fine. Some people are going to relish in that and succeed at a really high level, but they might also at some point want to get a puppy, or want to start a family, or want to spend more time not running around doing showings. And you're going to train them and give them a way out of that if that's what they want at some point, because things change. So you want to certify them so that you know that you're buying leads and building their business with them, and they know how to convert them on their own. You want to teach them how to fish. You don't want to just give them fish strictly. The only thing left to do at this point, now that you've got a well-trained, well-groomed, knowledgeable, got more experience and knows the market better than an agent who's been in the business for 10 or 12 years, you just want to set up as many buyer appointments as possible. So one of the ways to do that is looking at the listings, who's actually looking at the properties that you're sending them. You might meet with people and consult with them, or you might just get internet leads, or you might get open house leads, and you set them up on a search within the area and within the price point that they're looking at. You want to have a system and a database. We use Brevity, and it's fucking awesome because you can actually see who's looking at their listings, how often they're looking at them, when they last look at it, and we can prioritize our call based on that because we still have a limited amount of time. We want to maximize the way that we're using our time. So we want to focus on the people who are showing the most signs of life first. We want to follow up with the people that are coming in as new leads, whether it's from the internet, whether it's from open houses, whether it's from the listing leads that we get, whether it's from the referrals in the sphere that we get. Guys, is there anything that I'm missing with regards to the onboarding process or how that looked from your perspective, or anything that you want to add?
No, just the importance of having a process. Having measurable goals, things like that is just super helpful for bringing anyone new onto a team to help them feel a sense of ownership and accomplishment. Yeah, and that's one of the things that milestones really help, especially a new agent, do, is they're getting wins along the way. This industry can really beat the shit out of us as agents. It can be a grind, can be unforgiving, and we sometimes forget when we're new. Even though I had a couple of years of direct sales experience, I'd overcome mental challenges of doing door-to-door sales for 10, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, 50 weeks a year for a couple of years. Even with that training and that mindset, I had my doubts in my first few months of being in the business because all I was doing was door knocking. I hadn't learned how to tap into some of these other sources and what to say and how to do it properly. I was strictly relying on what I knew, which was door knocking, and I didn't do any sales in my first 3 months. I was building momentum. I had the training. I knew that it would happen. So I kept going, but I still in those first 3 months had my doubts at times. So having these milestones, I ended up doing 10 deals in the 4th month and ended up doing 22 deals that year. But even though I had those doubts, these milestones help a newer agent who might not have that preset mindset training to get wins along the way. Because if we're winning, if we feel like we're winning, we're going to keep pushing through. We're going to overcome the things that are hard. And that's a really good point, Alex. There's something to that that's built into this too. Tammy and Brian, you've accomplished some of these milestones. Can you speak to your perspective on how this onboarding works?
Yeah, sure. For me, like the biggest thing with the 100 previews and stuff would be essentially just learning how to do showings, like learning the lock boxes, because there's a bunch of different lock boxes and some of them are extremely awkward. So now when I go to and do showings, I'm not sitting there fumbling with anything. Even just the booking side of it too is kind of crazy. There's like 10 different ways to book a showing. And so, just kind of going through that and making sure I downloaded all the apps and everything. And then with the Sphere side of it as well, I mean, I've done 1 condo transaction with my Sphere and then done 2 lease listings with my Sphere. And I'm from the Bahamas, so don't really have much of a Sphere up here to be considered. So it's just showing you the importance of reaching out to friends, family members, and everyone. And then, the biggest thing is being part of a team, having people that have your back and can teach you all the stuff, because there's so much things to learn.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest obstacles agents who are listening to this webinar or on the call or watching the recording. One of the biggest challenges they'll have is remembering all the shit they had to learn. Yeah. And making it so that it's easy for their new agent to retrieve that information and trained on it. Because if it was just up to me and I was relying on my own awareness of it, I'd be screwed. So we have a system in place so that Brian has the resources to find the scripts that he needs, to find the instructions on how to actually book these showings, to check out the videos on how that part works, to have the templated email for the feedback for the agents and stuff like that. Yeah, Brian, you would have been totally screwed if you were just relying on me and my personal efforts. So I'm glad we have that in place for you, and you're definitely tapping into it. So you're getting your success because of the hard work you're doing. But does anybody else have any questions or comments before we sign off on this? And thanks, Danielle and Alex. I appreciate you. You didn't have to do this. You don't get compensated for it or anything. And
We don't? No, I'm just kidding.
next in the mail, you'll get it any day.
Perfect.
So thank you for taking the time to join us and share what you've learned and what you've accomplished.
Thanks for having us.
All right, everybody. If you ever need anything, you can reach out to any of us at the Keitner Group or at Plays, and we'd love to learn more about you and how you're doing in your business and anything we can do to help with it. We love to help the fellow agent community. So reach out.
Thank you.
And thank you, Carolina, for setting this all up.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.